Greg, great to see you over Zoom, my man. How are you?
It's been a while. It's funny. I was just thinking this morning. I was thinking, well, I'm going to be meeting with Kevin this morning, and the first time we met, and how there was just this instant connection. I mean, it was like an
Yes.
instant connection, and because at that time, of course, you were pretty much launching Spectora,
Yep.
and I have my inspection business, but we were launching IEB, and we talked. We didn't talk about your services or our service. We just talked about the industry
Yeah.
and what the industry looks like, the kind of our take on it, and there was a lot of alignment. So after all these years, it's finally nice to be able to actually sit down and have a conversation with you
I
outside of
know an hour is not going to be enough, so I'm already planning for a part two. You need no introduction, but for those that don't know, yeah, owner of Bryan and Bryan,
Mhm,
owner, creator of IEB, a
mhm.
wonderful human, one of my favorite people just in general in life. And I'm honored to, to have been around you and to have been impacted by you, inspired by you. Um, so yeah, we can get into your backstory later. That's interesting,
Sure.
I think, in its sense. But like, what's the update on IEB? Kind of where you guys are at, and we can talk about the conference too, because that was an amazing experience.
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wasn't Oh my goodness! That was every year things get better, and of course, everything there's the evolution. The evolution of our industry. With IEB, we're quite honestly we're what's happening is what we planned from the very beginning. And what we planned from the very beginning, it's crazy because we call it like IEB phase three.
yeah,
Um, and this is where we've gone from, who are we? What do we do? And to now, at least people still on the outside don't know what we do. But now we've got the level of collaboration of inspection business owners from small businesses to large businesses, just openly collaborating in a positive, uplifting, and encouraging environment, which is like in this industry, unfortunately, that sometimes that can be very rare.
right.
Not always. There's some great places to go to in this industry, but that has taken on in its whole new life, because now we're seeing there have been people who have kind of gone through this journey of transformation, of identifying what they want, who they are, what they want out of life, what they want their business to do for them, how to build that business. And now we're seeing the journey of it happening. Now they've got some a little bit of mileage. Now it's the next phase where people have gotten control of their life again, where the business isn't controlling every aspect of them. And now we're kind of in this IB lifestyles thing. And this is so cool. And it started about a year ago. IB lifestyles really it's an idea that organically grew out of, well, if the intention is for people to build a business that gives them greater time freedom, a more balanced life, a focus on health, a focus on relationship, then what do you do with that? And let me back up a little bit. I was talking to Dirk Van Reen, my partner in IEB, and this was early on when he launched his own company, Bergflow, his coaching consulting and company, and he asked me a question that I kind of I choked up. I was in a group setting and I kind of teared up. He said, "I want to ask you all, what do you all do for fun?" And I mean, I just started crying. I mean, because it's like, and I was always an adventure guy. I mean, like adventure, like just there was no boundaries. And I stopped knowing how to have fun a long time ago, because I had served my company for so long, and you're serving your family, but you're in all that, you're checking these boxes, but there's no fulfillment in your for yourself. And so that was kind of a starting point. So at that point, Dirk and I, we went skydiving just to break me out of that. I've been before, so we went skydiving. So in IEB, the same thing occurred. We kind of realized all these business owners, now they're starting to get some free time. Many of them by design are getting out of the field.
Mhm.
There's developing leadership. Now, what the heck do I do with my time?
They
What do
don't
I do?
know. Some of
They
them don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They don't know. So we organically, we had a group of us got together last year and did an overlanding trip in Colorado. We went to Imogene Pass and Dirk did Black Bear Pass, and there, all these. So Colorado is just an amazing place to launch overlanding, and overlanding is kind of a badass camping. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the easy way of putting it. And so we got all these rigs now. Of course, Dirk and all these younger guys got their Jeeps, and I got a Lexus that I jacked up. So I said I'm riding in comfort my 19 hours to
Oh
Colorado.
yeah.
But we did that, and it broke something. So there was about, I don't know, about 8 couples and individuals that went. Then we went to Arkansas, and we had more people. Then this past about a couple of months ago, we went to Moab right before Unite in
Mhm.
Austin. We almost literally came from Moab in Utah to Unite. And then at that point, there were like 10 or 11 vehicles. It was crazy, crazy fun. And so we get to Unite, and was so exciting for me, Kevin. We had a golfing day, and now out of IEB, a golfing club has started. The first IEB hunting group is getting together in September. A group of guys and gals who like to hunt are going to go do a dove hunt down in, I believe, South Texas. There's going to be a wine and food group that's forming for people who don't like the outdoor stuff,
Mhm.
but and that, I got to be honest, that's the most exciting thing for me out of IEB, is seeing people learning how to enjoy life again and live a fulfilling life. And life is there's multiple layers to it. There's our spiritual life, there's our family life, there's our health, there's our wealth building, our business building, but we forget to have adventure in that. And I think if you can re-engage that into your life, it opens up doors for all the other things. I honestly believe that. And for me, I don't know how to have fun unless somebody says, "Hey, here's a trip. We're going." Like it was just announced in our IEB overlanding group that, hey, we're going to the Smoky Mountains in September, and who wants to go? So there'll be probably about 10 or 12 cars going.
What does it mean to you to see the impact this is having on others? Given, I want to ask about your journey,
Yep.
to get to starting IEB in a second, but I want to know what it means to you to have those people have that aha moment that you had where you unlock something where you're like, what's the purpose of all this? Like, why am I working so hard all these years and I don't feel fulfilled? Like, what does it mean to see that happen in other people?
Without going through my journey, and I know we'll touch on that a little bit, but because of my journey and how broken I was because of the business I had built, where I had no time freedom, the business consumed every minute of my life. I was so broken. When I see people breaking through that, it's like when you smell something and it takes you back to a moment in your childhood, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like that when people have this revelation and then they put it in place, then it's like that smell for me. It's like it takes me back to that place, and it gives me, Kevin, I can't explain how happy it makes me. But it's not, it's funny. It's not the it's not building a big business or people building bigger businesses. I really don't care about that. That doesn't move my needle. Even
Mhm.
for me, we built a big business, but that doesn't move my needle. It's people getting their life back. It's people it's people purposely providing the resources to their business to give them the things that they want their business to do for them.
Ooh.
Not what I want their business to be, or not what some book says a home inspection business should be. It's like, what life do you want to be provided through your business? And when I see that happen with people, we've had testimonies of people who have, gone on a vacation, a 6-day vacation for the first time in 10 years with their family. Do you know how touching? Do you know what that means to hear that? That I mean, I can't. I really can't explain the depth of gratitude. But so that's part of that really excites me. The other part is I I knew it could happen, but I had to see it to believe it. that we have an entire community of business owners who openly share every single thing they do, even with their direct competitors. I mean, we were just talking about this the other day. You know, in IEB, you have different levels of membership based on the size of your company. And the
Mhm.
enterprise level are like you're starting to get into rare air.
Right.
You know, that's uh, $2.5, $3 million companies plus.
Right.
And now, when we started, there was 2 enterprise companies in Houston. Now there's 5, and it's crazy because so there's 5 enterprise companies plus all these other IEB companies in my market, and we share everything with each other.
It's
You tell that to people, and it doesn't
it doesn't register. Yeah.
it doesn't register. It's like, it's like, okay, what's the catch? It's like, yeah, there's no catch.
And
You
it's a
know,
mentality, it's a way of living. And that's what I think I have a hard time even articulating to some inspectors when they're like, tell me about IEB. And I
yeah,
say those same things where I'm saying, like, it's just a different world because you're surrounded by people that have an abundance mentality. You're surrounded by people that want to uplift others, that believe good energy is going to come back to them. I
yeah,
had never, it blew my mind. And I wasn't even there for the conference. I was there to
yeah.
try to sell software, but I learned so much, and I light up every time I talk about it because I've never seen something like that.
Well, the crazy part though is getting the resources of the competitors is not the magic of IEB. That's the beautiful outcome of IEB. That's a beauty, because we think, wow, I can be in this community where I essentially don't have to build everything myself. People will share what they do, and I can modify it. But that's not where the real power is. The power is in the mindset of a willingness to share. That's the part that people don't understand. It's like you think, well, the power is having access to these resources of these people who have an abundance mentality. It's no, it's being around people with the abundance mentality.
Yes.
And that's where, honestly, that's where some people are like, oh, that I don't dig that touchy feely stuff. That psycho stuff is like, hey man, I don't know how it works. I just know it works. If you want the tools and the resources, they're there, and you'll
Yeah.
get a lot out of that. But it's the magic of the environment and the mindset.
I think now more than ever after COVID, people are realizing we're all human. And
Yeah.
these are human topics of feeling part of a community. Um, yeah, I want to hear a little more about that story of kind of the grind and building the business, and like you said, amazing success. This is all amazing things that most people aspire to,
Mm-hmm.
but it drove you to the point of having like a crossroads in your life, I imagine. So I don't know if it may have been years since I've even heard this story of what led to IEB coming into existence.
Sure. I'll keep it relatively short, Kevin. My initial story is probably identical to 90% of the home inspectors out there. I wanted time freedom. I wanted to be the master of my own ship. I wanted, and home inspection appeared to provide that opportunity. I came out of the restaurant business in kind of dinner houses and fine dining. I was a restaurant turnaround guy, completely burned out. And so I just wanted to just shut out the noise and be the master of my destiny. Became a home inspector. I had two family members in Texas who were licensed. We were the first licensed state, so that gave me an in. And I operated as a sole proprietor by choice for 10 years.
Oh, no kidding. I forgot
Yeah,
about that. Wow.
yeah, for 10 years. Then I added then organic, and now at this point we're homeschooling 4 kids. The office is in our homeschooling class. It's chaos. Um, Added another inspector. We rode together for 5 years. He's still with me. One of my dearest friends, really a brother. Um, then we added another inspector for another 5 years. So we're 20 years in, and that's when it happened. My health failed. Um, and this will sound crazy. We just didn't say no, because in business you get so terrified of saying no
Right.
that you'll do every transaction. So in the interim, we're literally doing 600 to 700 inspections a year each, for year after year after year. And I come home, I'm working 6 7 days a week. Come home, spend time with the family. We're renovating this historic home, this 100-year-old home. I work on that till 3 4 5 in the morning and get up and do it over again. So I'd work sleep 2 or 3 hours, rinse and repeat. Because I always had a high motor, and I was raised in an environment you just work hard. It's like, okay,
Right.
I can work hard. But what I found, Kevin, and this is a universal truth, is most people will not make dramatic changes until an external force demands it.
Mm,
We typically won't purposely make huge shifts in our life by choice,
right.
because we get so comfortable in our discomfort, you know.
Right.
Even discomfort, we know we hate it, but we're so terrified of either losing our business, or whatever our fear factor is.
Mm-hmm.
So my company failed, and that was the magical turning point in my business. And what that was, for the first time since I had been in business, I got clarity. And I didn't understand this at the time. And you know this, Kevin. That's the hinge pins conversation at IEB. Is getting clarity on what you want out of life and what you want your business to do for you. Everything else is an outcome of that. I got clear on two things. I don't ever want to inspect another house. I don't want to run a home inspection business. So here's what happens with that is, for the first time in 20 years, I took the business, I pulled it off of me, these tentacles, I pulled it in, now it's looking me in the eye, and I say, hey, business, this is what you're going to do for me. I need you to operate to the point where I don't have to work in you anymore, or I have to run you. So now all I have to do is determine what resources does this business need to make that happen.
Oh man, that sentence alone, like that alone, I think is wisdom.
Yeah. So it's like, so what are the resources? So I gave resources, and long story short, in 4 months, I was out of the business as an inspector. I hired a manager. We went from, this was 2014. We had 3 inspectors. Today, and this is, I'm gonna throw this number out here, and there's purpose to this. We hit $1 million net profit last week for the year. $1
Amazing.
million net profit. Okay, well, Greg, that sounds a little bit self-serving. No, I want you to understand, the reason I say this is the second part of my journey. Is I was in a group of, kind of a mastermind group, and great people, and great relationships, and many of those relationships I still have today. But those relationships represented the conversation in our industry, which is all around growth activities and how to train home inspectors. And there's nothing around business building or profitability. So all I hear is, grow your company this size, be this size company. If I can, be $1 million company, or a $500,000 company, or whatever that number is. And it was always an odd thing to me. I understood it. I understood the catchphrase of that thinking. But when I start having these conversations with people, well, what is your operating cost? What's your organizational structure? What's your profit? I was met with a lot of blank stares. and people, so now I have a little bit of time freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know what? I stumbled into this thing of getting freedom from my business, of just getting this rudimentary clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started thinking, this is a conversation the industry needs, is how do you build an actual business? We say we're business owners, but we operate as technicians.
Ooh, yeah.
So our starting lens is from a technician lens rather than a business owner's lens, and home inspection happens to be our service.
Right.
That's just the product. And I don't say that to diminish it. For the people who are like purists and like I get that. We're known as a nitpicky inspection business, and
Yeah.
with our 30 plus inspectors. So here's what happened is, I started talking. I had about a half dozen friends who had grown $1 million businesses, or around up between 750 and $1 million, coming to fly down to Houston. And that 3 of them broke down crying in my office, saying, I don't even know why I'm doing this, because they'd grown $1 million business, and they were walking out the stereotype. I don't want to grow a business because it means more work, more stress, and less profits. yeah, if you don't have a correct model, it absolutely means all of those things.
Oh man, when you say it that way, you're like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. Why would anyone do that?
Why would anybody do that? So we realized, wow, what would it look like if we could create an environment of collaboration, that we provide the genesis of the idea, the fundamentals of leadership development, fundamentals of gaining clarity, the fundamentals of a viable inspection business model. These are the divisions of your business. This is what a profitable model looks like. There's a lot in there. It's easy, but it's not simple. Building business, there's no silver bullet,
Right.
and it's a grind. If anybody tells you differently, they're lying. Kevin, with launching Spectora, you hit walls, things crash, things fall apart. It's like, and everybody's yelling at you, but you just keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we did that, and we've had so many companies just transform into profitable entities, learning how to hire talent, how to hire and recruit, and how to grow, but more importantly, how to become profitable. And so that's why I say, I'm really proud we've hit $1 million net profits. Like, well, that's important, because that's a conversation we never have in our industry. Okay, yeah, you're hitting here, you're hitting on this cylinder, you're hitting on this cylinder, but what's the result? What kind of time freedom do you have? What kind of life balance do you have? What does your health look like? What do your relationships look like? What's your spirituality? And what's your bottom line? All the other stuff is that's where we focus our conversation, because that's where the busyness is.
Right.
But it's not results driven. So,
and this is I want to highlight that this is kind of I think a shared value of IEB and Spectora and you and I personally, of when you say that number, certain people get excited about it and say, wow, that's accessible to me. That's amazing. Good for you. That's awesome. Like, what else can I do to support you? And then certain people think of reasons why it's wrong or bad, or shun it. And that's people's relationship with money, which is something I think we all need to evaluate too. But I love that you share. And that's what IEB has unlocked, I think, for so many businesses, is you share candidly, and you talk about the good and the bad. And that safe place alone, I think every inspector needs to go there mentally, either on their own or through an organization like IEB. So amazing what you've done. You guys probably have, you've probably doubled, tripled, quadrupled over the years.
we have.
Awesome.
Well, two parts. I want to touch on that, Kevin, but I want to go back to money real quick. And, I told you how I got this first taste of clarity, and, clarity begets clarity, vision begets vision. As you get clear about things, you get more clear. So I got clear about this, but when I talk about money has become a driver for me. Money doesn't mean anything. If you came to my house, I live in a very modest house. I drive a 12-year-old car. I buy used clothes. But I don't have any problem spending money if I choose to. But here's my relationship with money, and this goes to the clarity aspect. It's okay, I want more time freedom, and I've identified what that means, but I want a profitable company. To what end? Okay, two things I'm very clear about. One is my heart is to give. My family, we give. We when I say give, we don't give publicly. We don't give where it's. But I believe we have an obligation, especially in a country as rich as the United States, with the opportunities, that I love to be in a position. If there's a need, that need can be immediately met. A real need, not like, we'll pray about it. It's like, no, here's some resources that I've been blessed with.
Yep.
So that's the money aspect of it. And so, and for me, building a larger business, I have no desire to grow my business any larger. I really don't. But I have people who do, because they know that my heart is to create life-changing economic opportunities for the leaders of my companies. So I've got what I need, and that residual income and other things. and I'd like more to meet the giving part. But if I can create generational changing wealth for the people that are driving my businesses forward, then that's a whole nother level for me. So that keeps me going in the growth side. Because personally, I'm like, but that's, again, that goes to getting clear. Why do I want a bigger business? Well, I don't,
Right.
but
Yeah.
my goal does.
Yeah.
And they're two distinctly different things.
It's such a, I don't know, like, I don't know if I'm even using this right, but the hierarchy of needs, it's like, to me at the top is like enjoying and craving success for others. And like you said,
Yes.
life-changing economic opportunities for others. It only is going to mean great things for you. And so inspectors, um, probably don't start getting into that thinking until they have a multi-inspector company, 5, 6 inspectors, or they get get to an IEB conference. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, it's hard when you're in the grind, when you can't see from day to day. It's hard to see this futuristic thing, but you have to begin purposely being in an environment to walk you through how do I gain clarity in the noise? How do I get clarity when I'm in this chaos? It's kind of like the urgent versus the important. And I love this analogy. Dirk uses this. The urgent is always screaming in your face, pay attention to me, pay attention, take care of me, take care of me. The most important things are always quietly standing in the corner, just saying, hey, I'm just going to be standing over here. And whenever you're ready, I'll always be here. Just, it's
yeah,
up to you.
yeah.
And when we decide, what, I think I'll focus on the most important things today.
Let's
That's
put
we get
on,
the chance.
I want to get your take on the mentality of the average home inspector, because it's very, very common in our industry. Do you believe it comes from the type of demographic, the type of person that becomes a home inspector, or our industry that is kind of like there's no recurring income, there's no recurring revenue. It's just your next inspection, the next home transaction value. So there's this feeling that it's always going to run out at some point, right? Because we've had a good bull run for the real estate industry. Talk to me a little. Have you thought much about that, where that mindset comes from? I'm sure you guys have, because you seem to go a layer underneath that at conferences to talk to people about the fear mentality, the fear-based mentality.
Yeah, I think you're correct, Kevin, that it is transactional based. And if you think about that if I'm a hunter gatherer, and I have to go out and hunt every day and kill what I eat, and then after I eat it, I have to go hunt again. Think about, and that there are other hunters out there, and they're in the same position. It can become very protective, very territorial,
Mm-hmm.
and rightfully so, because it's survival. From your perspective, if somebody else is killing my game, then I'll starve. And that's a very difficult that's very difficult to overcome mentally, to walk through that. So I think that's one leg of it. Another leg of it is, if you look at the demographic, and it's changing because historically, we're kind of, I always call it the evolution of our industry. The first evolution was a tech and a trade. Historically, men
Mm-hmm.
that had a trade and evolved into an industry, or something we could do for money. The next iteration was learning how to market. It's like, oh, I can actually take this product to a consumer, or somebody can refer consumers, and now I can multiply
Yep.
my services. And then gratuitously, we call it, the next phase is the IEB business building phase. But if you go back to the technician, if you see the demographic, we're an aging industry.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? 50% of home inspectors are over 55 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're having a new wave come in, and a different mindset. Because right now, since it was a technician, the mentality is through a technician's mindset, and it's very protective of the standards of a home inspection, and that's the basis of all the decision making. And so I think there's a natural inclination, and I understand it, that if something is in a conversation outside of the technical purity, then somehow you're diminishing the value of the technical part of being a business owner. And it creates confusion. And that's why, and because of this protective attitude, Kevin, think about it. If I'm a hunter, and you see this on the Facebook groups, if somebody comes up with a different idea, it will be a stream of how that won't work. That, and there's no way that'll work. And then the name calling, which is a whole different thing. But
Yeah.
but it won't work. It won't work. It won't work. It won't work. Well, that's conditioned into this protective thing. Well, I have to protect not only my turf but my ideas.
Right.
Because if I open myself up that maybe my ideas or my thinking could be expanded or may be wrong, man, you're starting to dig deep into somebody's identity.
Right.
And not only their identity, but how they built their business. Maybe they built it wrong. Maybe they could build it better. And we all have ego. We all have ego, and it's, and the most dangerous ego is the ego you don't see. I have it. You have it. It shows up in ways that we would never expect. Ego and pride. So that demographic. But on the flip side, you're starting to see. I call it the Harmony Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Harmony, for those of you who are listening to this podcast, she's an IEB member. She owns Greenworks in Dallas. I was just up in Dallas 3 days ago, with meeting with Harmony. She's a dear friend. We're collaborating on some things, just ideas. She doesn't know how to do an inspection. She doesn't know the first thing about an inspection process, writing a report. She just decided she wanted to build an inspection business. I don't know how many years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. She has over 100 employees. Now she has an engineering firm involved in that. She has an environmental firm. And she started through the lens of being a business owner. But think of now from that lens, how many opportunities she's created for others who want to be in the trades aspect of it, who want to be on the servicing side of it. Because of her leading as a business owner first and running a profitable, thriving, growing business, now she's in 7 markets and creating opportunities for all of these people. And to me, she represents the future. She represents the future of our industry. I'm not saying I necessarily agree or disagree, which, by the way, I do agree. but that's the one thing we have to get over, it is when that's where the ego is I don't like that idea or the way somebody's doing something, therefore it won't work because I don't like it.
Right.
It doesn't matter what we like or don't like. The market's going to dictate what the market wants as new ideas and products and services are introduced into the market. And that's a challenge we all face. So how flexible are we? How much are we willing to let go of our old way of thinking? And we're challenged that every single day. Every single day, Dirk and I, we walk through this as partners. We challenge each other every single day on our own perspectives.
That, I feel like, is a must. That might be the number one predictor in my mind of a healthy, successful, whatever you want to call it, business. If when partners can challenge each other's perspectives, opinions, inputs daily, that is powerful.
Yeah, it hadn't always been clean.
I know you guys get after it. I know you two.
You could hear us outside of the building, but there were 2 things about that, and this is critical. This is from the 5 dysfunctions of a team, mm-hmm. the results triangle. It is, if there's trust involved in conflict, then you can have a pretty high level conflict to achieve some pretty high results. So when you go in, you can throw some haymakers at each other, but if you trust one another, and think about that, it circles back to even the IEB conversation. If we can create an environment where we all trust each other, and know that if you break this trust, if you break the trust of the group in IEB, if you talk sideways about another inspection company, if you lie, if you're deceitful, you'll be exited. We've exited really large companies from IEB, like super large companies. Like we won't lower our standards just to have somebody stroke us a check. The community is more important than that. It's the same way in our businesses, as with employees and leaders in our business, maintaining clarity, maintaining vision, and maintaining trust are the three most important aspects. Because your people, trust is what you're going to tap into when you make dynamic changes, when you're going to shift in a big way. We had a situation about 3 years ago. Our economic model for compensation for our inspectors was way off.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to grow into bankruptcy. So it wasn't immediately in front of us, but it was a matter of time. We were dead man walking, maybe 3 or 4 years, but it's going to happen. So we had to make a change. And I'll never forget that we had to adjust the base compensation of each inspector down $6,000 to $9,000. Now there was other attributes they could have actually made more money, and they did,
Right.
but they hear that 6-9 down, that's where their mind
Yeah.
shuts
Yeah.
off.
Exactly.
And understandably, but I was talking to some of my inspectors about a year later, and a couple of them are leaders in my company service. One of our service director, one of our team leaders, and he said, Greg, when that happened, the only thing that kept this thing from falling apart was a trust that had been established in Bryan and Bryan inspections. But you went to the bottom of the well in that trust. Nobody's doing cartwheels, but the only thing that held it together was trust. So I don't know how I got on the trust conversation.
Yeah, let's pull on that thread. I think what do you feel went into building that type of trust with your people?
I think it's being consistently walking out who you say you are. If you say you run an ethical business, then run an ethical business.
Right.
If your people have, have opportunities to see you making a decision to forego revenue or income to maintain your standards, boy, that's an you're investing richly into the capital of your company. You're foregoing a transaction for long-term return.
Right.
That's all you're doing. It's interesting when Chris, who is my vice president, runs things. He came on and he had a bonus plan set up, and we tossed the bonus plan. He's been operating with me now for 4.5 years without a bonus plan. And now he gets these spiffs, he gets these things, but he knows the bigger play, and he's been side by side with me, and trust has been established. I would like to believe he's seen me show up in a trustworthy way in all of my relationships, right, and all of my interactions. And because of that, he knows that hey man, we're going to this, we're getting pretty close. There's going to be a huge payoff for him. Now we're talking equity stakes. We're talking about changing things that I'll freely give away, but he has to earn it, and I have to know that the model is right, and he has to be willing to continually show trust in me. But it's this. We hear the adage. It takes forever to gain trust, and it's easy to break trust.
Right.
And so I would say, as a business leader, are you the real deal? Do you show up in your relationships? Do you show up in private? Do you show up with your language? Do you show up in your continence? Are you consistent in who you are? And over time, people get comfort with that, and it's an attractor, Kevin. I love it when we're an attractor for other people to come work in our company, because it exudes that joy and confidence exudes from our employees. It's that culture.
Yeah.
And people say, I want to be a part of that. I want to work in that. And
leaders
that's probably what I'm most proud of.
Yeah. And you and Dirk model it, Rob, all the other folks that in the kind of leadership and enterprise group of IEB, they're all inspiring people that you want to be around, that you want to work with.
Yeah.
Because you guys are direct, you're warm, but you care. And, it's just this beautiful blend of attributes where you're like, they're just who they say they are. And I want to be around that.
I wish everybody could have an opportunity to sit on an enterprise call. You got these 15 companies or so that are just, huge businesses, and there's intensity. There is, conflicting ideas, but there's absolute respect. There's absolute candidness. It's I would say probably 50% of the conversation would be very contrary to what people would think
Right.
that those conversations would be like. It's devoid of ego. I mean, it's and I think this is important in your business as business owners. I think it's important in your relationships. How vulnerable are you?
Uh,
Do you? I want to take you on a real quick journey, and I think this is important because we launched IEB and we attracted all these large companies. And I'm a founder of IEB, so I'm the expert, right? I'm kind of like, I'm supposed to be the expert.
right.
So people like, listen, do you think we coach everything? I do everything we coach? No. So we're going up. I launch IEB with Dirk. We're in it for a year and a half, and for the first time in 25 years, we start to go down in sales. While I'm surrounded by these other enterprise companies who are growing at, I mean, you have to understand, there's some companies in IEB that are exploding. We're talking hiring 20, 30 inspectors at a time. And 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 so I'm going down. And do you know how awesome to be able to say to say in this group where I'm the founder of this group with Dirk, I'm a co-founder, to say, hey, man, we're really struggling right now in this area. And what it was we were actually our attention was focused on leadership development because we needed to build a new and we spent 18 months on just a pipeline of leadership development because we knew that we needed that. Once we did that, we hired like 20 inspectors in a 3-month period and took off again. But it was purposeful, to focus on something else, but not purposeful to go down in growth.
Right.
And where we went down almost $1 million in sales year over year, and to be able to say that to your contemporaries who are killing it without feeling like I'm a failure,
Right.
because I can share this and they're just going to lift me up and say, hey man, you're focusing on the right thing, keep doing this, we support you. I can think of very few environments where you could be that vulnerable and transparent with your failings, especially in your professional peers. You either
Vulnerability.
would take advantage of it, come after you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Duck.
I just watched a Brene Brown documentary on Netflix, and then started reading one of her books because she's all about vulnerability. That's kind of the emotion she taps into and digs into and kind of deconstructs. And boy, our industry, I don't know what percent into the vulnerability journey we're in, but it ain't much. I think we have a long way to go in terms of our industry and the people in it being vulnerable, because it takes not identifying with, like you said, I think you hit on something earlier of when you over identify with the technician in you and the business is you, you make hasty decisions, you get emotional, and you kind of lose sight of the big picture. So,
it's we recognize this, and this is hysterical. When we first, I do a lot of public speaking with IEB, and me, Kevin. I'm probably the most private person in IEB, and so it's my preferred state is in a small group or one-on-one.
Right.
Large groups are exhausting, and part of that, I'm sure, is well, I don't know why, but the intimacy part. When we launched IEB, both Dirk and we have 4 masterminds a year, and we're like, okay, IEB is going to be 100% virtual. Who needs to get together? They can save money. Because for me, it's like, why would anybody want to get together? It's like we're talking business. Business is business,
Right.
And when we finally had it, and that was one of our failings. That's when we went up in growth and went down, and finally had to find our footing. Who are we? What do people want? And they seek those intimate relationships. They just don't have environments or know how to act in them.
Yes.
And so that created a pathway. And about 6 months ago, we launched pods, PODS, small pods in IEB. And like I have a pod that has 4 other people in it. The pods range from 4 to 5 people. And we meet, we talk about, one sheets, which is a system of tracking specific goals, individual goals, or you can do anything else. Sometimes our pod, we meet once a week. The extraordinary thing is it's turned into a high level accountability group. It's like, hey, I need to be held accountable for this. I text my group every night for the last 3 months when I'm going to bed at 10:30 because I have a problem not going to bed early. So I have an accountability. That sounds so silly, but
Nope.
those little accountabilities stack up to other things. I wanted to go on a health journey because I had some heart issues last year, had to deal with those, and I had to start exercising again. Of course, in my mind, it's like, okay, I'm going to go from not doing anything for the last 4 years because of my heart to having the body of myself when I was 25 in like 3 months. Our mind, but in the pod, I realized, hey, dude, you're not going to do that. You can't really even exercise that much. So let's start this. Let's start. Okay, you have to start with water, and this is where baby steps of accountability are so powerful. I was held accountable in my pod group to drink 60 ounces of water a day. Once I established that, then I went to, right now my accountability is doing X number of push-ups 5 days a week and walking 2 miles for 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And but the intimacy, these pods, it started out as kind of an accountability group, but a natural intimacy. A couple of us have family members with dementia, caring for parents, health issues with family, struggles in business, financial struggles. Where do you turn with that? Even in a group like IEB, where it's we're open, there's a point where it's like, this is now we're getting super intimate.
Right.
And being business owners, we're so isolated from everything. We don't have an outlet. If you're involved in a church or a synagogue or some other relationship, you may have that outlet, but we've become so isolated as a society. I didn't realize the impact these pods would have, and it goes. I believe it speaks to intimacy that we long and we need. We just don't know how to do it.
I love that concept. Entrepreneurship's lonely, being a home inspector's lonely, and then you had COVID. You had like the triple whammy of like isolation, and
Yeah.
it's no wonder you guys are screaming out of the gates after COVID because some people can't even turn to their spouse with like finances or business struggles or health struggles, and so to have that group, I think can literally save lives. Shout out to Tribe of Millionaires, the book. You said one sheeter. I just finished that book a few weeks ago. Amazing.
Yeah, shout out to all of you listening. It's Tribe Millionaires from Dave Osborne in a group.
Who was at the IEB conference? Who who speaks
Yes,
at
Dave
the IEB
Osborne
conference? Yeah,
speaks.
writer of that book.
He's in a group of other very successful entrepreneurs. Started a group called Go Abundance, and it's kind of a little bit different than IEB. The flavor is living an adventurous life, but you have to be a certain net worth to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
But these are people. These guys are highly successful. Some of them are it's interesting because I'm in Go Abundance, and I haven't really plugged in that much because I with IEB so much, and even for me, it's hard to find a way to plug into it because it's a new community for me.
Yeah.
And so I've been thinking about that. Wow, I wonder how many people in IB, it's hard for them. They come in and it feels like a good old boy or good old girl network. Do we get, and Go Abundance isn't that. These guys are amazing. But as an outsider, it's like, how do I step in? And what's my responsibility of taking action versus the responsibility of the group to make it as inviting and as easy as possible?
Right.
And
Right.
so I'm actually riffing out loud now. I'm going through an IEB owner's question.
Yeah.
How many people are like struggling? How do I get really plugged into IEB?
I love that. I want to brainstorm. We can brainstorm offline because I'm starting to think too of just like how to help those new members feel that feeling that people feel when it clicks, and like
Yes.
how do we get them to that quicker? Because you're right, the perception could be totally wrong when you're on the outside looking in versus once you kind of feel the energy.
Yeah, well, think about your business. It was me and two inspectors, and I had an inspector. When you get to where I've got hired. I don't do any hiring anymore. I have one direct report, and we're very purposeful in the design at IEB how you structure your business. And I'm the acting CEO, which means I just set the course and enforce the culture and set the vision, and that's it. And Um, but how do you maintain that intimacy and that culture as you get more and more employees who aren't plugged in with each other?
Right.
And you start to lose that, because that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what do you do to replace it? When it's just you and two other people, you're together every day, you eat lunch together, you go to dinner together, then
This
all of a sudden
happens.
it's
Yeah.
50, 60, we've got, almost 70 employees. Yeah, you're on not all break. So we're actually having a thing at my house. We're renting a tent and we're gonna have 100 people at my house. We realize, you know what, it's gonna be hot as Hades in Houston. We need to bring everybody together. Bring in a mariachi and some Mexican food and
Yeah.
to do, just for the sole purpose of having an awareness that, oh my gosh, it's been, because of COVID, it's been 18 months, longer than that, since we've gotten together, since our Christmas party 2019.
Wow. That's
And
a nugget right there. Even small multis, find time to get together and meet and enjoy each other and have a meal together. That's what people bond over.
yeah.
It's so easy to treat our people like assets that just plug away and work. Like you got to meet personally.
Hey Kevin, I want to shift a little bit,
Yeah.
and yeah, because I'm you didn't ask me to do this. Full disclosure, Kevin and I, we're friends.
Yeah.
We've become professional friends. We talk, probably twice a year in reality. Um, and I reached out to Kevin to say, "Hey, I'd like to be in your podcast." He said, "I've been wanting you on for a long time." But one of the reasons I wanted to come on was to talk about Spectora and my company. Kevin did not ask me to do this. Kevin, he's probably a little bit uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
But I
Definitely.
want to talk about this
Yeah.
because this is a question we get all the time from business owners. We work with sole proprietors to really large companies, and they ask all the time, who do we use? Well, first, in IEB, we don't take a position on what resources you use.
Right.
We don't care. We don't care if you use Spectora, Horizon, HIP, what are the other, Home Gauge. We don't care.
Right.
Now, as a business owner has a large inspection company, I do care. And we're very innovative, and we're willing to change to get our models right going into the future. So for us, we switched reporting softwares 3 times in 4 years,
Oof.
which is insane. And but it was purposeful, Kevin, because we saw strengths, but we saw gaps. It's like, okay, this software has a really great strength for right now, but this aspect of it is going to be super problematic as we grow. So it's scalability, and then the other part for us is we are, one of our key drivers as business owners is understanding a good work environment for our inspectors. Quality of life, quality of life, quality of life, quality of life, and the ability to not have to do inspections at midnight, coming home. It's like, well, what kind of life is that? I mean, honestly, what does it mean if we're employing somebody to give them a better life, better financial life with their family? We provide benefits. We have health benefits. We have 401k, company vehicles. The pay is pretty good, and if they're working 20 hours a day because they're having to write reports at midnight, that was part of the decision. And so for us, we went through this journey, and I just got to tell you that Spectora has been probably one of the best decisions we've made as an inspection business since I've been doing this, and that's universal with all of our inspectors. One of the other questions that is asked of us is, do you use Spectora Plus versus? And I'll just say just ISN. I'm really making Kevin uncomfortable here. He's like,
Yeah. Hey, I like it. I got to lean into it, right? Lean into the
lean into it. Lean into it. And we use Spectora Plus. And so why? Because for us, ISN has some more bells and whistles.
Yep.
More functionality. There's no secret about that. It's they've been around longer. But for us, again, it's like, and this is my mindset, which may be very different than other business owners and what's important to them. I'm always looking at what's the short-term win, but more importantly, what's the long-term win?
Right.
What's the long-term win? And for us, and I've never had this conversation with you, Kevin. The reason we switched to Spectora Plus was
Advanced. Advanced.
advanced. Is it okay? I'm sorry.
Hey, same thing. Plus advanced.
Yes, Spectora Advanced is we we wanted something more seamless.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted something that we knew the reporting software, how efficient it become, that we knew that Spectora Advanced would become the same thing, and we wanted to be a part of that conversation. You know, it's not like we have a huge dialogue with Spectora, but Spectora listens to the input of the users, and we've seen, you know, it takes, you know, making change, you don't just change a line of code. So he says, hey, can you add this? Sure, let me just change this Word document.
Takes time. Yeah.
But for us, we've seen the dynamic changes. So that's really my commercial to you, Kevin, and your whole team is, you know, we were on this purposeful journey of what's the best software to serve us, not only today, but long in the future as we scale into multiple markets, and what will give our inspectors the highest quality of life. And we landed on Spectora. And honest to goodness, the last shift, I was telling, I like, oh my gosh, they're like, we love what Spectora looks like. I was like, really, you know, y'all are willing to tear this up again, this time with like 17 inspectors.
Yeah.
Again, create all new templates,
Yeah.
you know, but and it was a cost factor for us to just the time that there's a time cost factor of shifting, but it was for us, the investment cost was so much lower in regards to the return we're anticipating in time value and the quality of product. I think there's no question about that. But there's just no one competes with the appearance of the Spectora report and the dynamics of it. So the dynamic usage of it. So I just want to shout that, and hopefully I didn't make you too uncomfortable.
Greg, you're so kind, and I appreciate you. But the kudos goes back to you and your company, because this is an IEB principle of realizing that there's more currency than just money out there. It's time. Yeah. There's time cost to things. And you guys are a target market, a company that actually cares about getting their inspectors home for dinner, a company that cares about what their end report looks like, because that's what they're out there marketing. And in the era now that we're entering, and this is a topic for part 2 of free software starting to roll out, you got big money coming into our industry. It makes that conversation more prevalent over what are you valuing more, time or money, your end product, efficiency, a lot of currencies out there.
Hey, yes, we will have part 2, because that's going to roll into one of the reason IEB launched was because I envision a world where big money's coming in and there's going to be free home inspections where the inspector is the commodity.
Right. And that is such a teaser for part 2, because everyone, I guarantee, wants to hear you and I's our thoughts on that, because it's coming. It's something we've talked about and shared a vision for years, and it's kind of unfolding in front of us.
It's absolutely unfolding. We can either stick our fingers in our ears, pretend it's not coming. We can embrace it and lean into it and say, okay, what effect can we have? Can we dominate this change?
Right.
Or are we just going to be at the mercy of it?
Right.
And just hope we can get little crumbs from whoever wants to toss us a crumb after they've monetized us into the ground.
Well said. This is a great teaser. We need to schedule this after we break here. Let's actually get it on the calendar. But Greg, you always make me happier. You always make me feel better about everything, because you're just a kind, person that sees the whole field, like you see it all. And I appreciate your wisdom and friendship. So thank you for taking time. This is going to be our most popular episode. I guarantee it.
Thank you, Kevin. Very kind words.
We'll do it again soon.